Hello guys and welcome to my channel. Today I will be ranking all of the sabers in Saber Showdown. Please remember that these ranks are subjective and this is simply my opinion. Now let's get started. Let's start with the default saber and all of the forms. I will quickly go over all of the forms and rank all of them. Let's start with Form 1, also known as the yellow form. When I started playing Saber Showdown, I used this form because it has one of the most balanced stats of all of the forms, meaning it does not sacrifice attack for defense or vice versa, and it has a decent attack speed. This is one of the best forms in the game. Next is Form 2, also known as the purple form. This form is not very good, but I still found it quite useful. It is a slightly more balanced version of Form 7, and I personally like this form, but the attack speed is just as bad as Form 7, but if you are good at the game then this form is very good. Next is Form 4, otherwise known as the dark blue form. This is the best option for beginners, but I have never enjoyed using it. It has a good attack speed, but the attack is very low, and I found it hard to win fights with this form, because I attack more than I block in fights, but if you are new to the game you might want to use this one. Next is Form 5, or the cyan form. This form is the one I use now, and like Form 1, it is one of the best in the game. It has fast attack speed and it deals a decent amount of damage. I personally think it is the best in the game, but that is just my opinion. And the final form, Form 7, also known as the red form, is not good at all. It is very slow and the defense is so bad that unless you are one of the best players in Saber Showdown, it will be nearly impossible to use this form. It is all out attack, which is quite useless unless you actually manage to land a hit. Done. Now let's move on to Backhand. This saber looks nice and has slightly faster attack speed than the default saber, but that's pretty much all that it does. I think most people only buy this saber because they are tired of saving up points, because it is so cheap that it costs as much as a cosmetic, but I think it's best to save up for a better saber than this one. I own this saber, but I never really use it because I feel like the default saber does a better job. The Backhand is worth the small amount of points that it costs because it doesn't really do much. So I think it deserves B tier. Next is the dark saber. This saber is quite nice. I don't own this one, but I know that it is very hard to fight against because it has great defense, so your stamina drains slower in a fight. It costs as much as a crossguard and is basically the opposite of the crossguard, as it provides more defense but the crossguard provides more attack damage. It is really worth the points and I will be buying it for my next gameplay video, so I will see if it really deserves the credit that it gets from the Saber Showdown community. But for now I must say I think it deserves A tier. And I forgot to mention that I forgot to add the Scythe and the triple floating saber, but I will mention their ranks at the end of the video. And if you are enjoying the video so far, please consider giving it a like. Now on to the next saber. The crossguard. The crossguard is one of the best sabers in the game. It has access to all of the forms, and it has increased damage. I own this saber, and did a gameplay video with it. The saber cost just as much as a dark saber, and in my opinion it is better than the dark saber. It is definitely worth the amount of points it costs, and I highly recommend this saber. I think it deserves S tier, but then again, that is just my opinion. This saber is also quite hard to fight against as it deals a lot of damage and it is almost unstoppable when it is used with Form 5. Next is the whip. The whip itself is quite a confusing saber, it simply does not make any sense. How is a lightsaber a whip and somehow it is possible to block with? It is also quite annoying as the range is so good that it is the perfect third-party saber. I hate this thing, but that is also just my opinion. It has worse stats than the boomerang, but it has better range and attack speed than the boomerang. It should have costed less than what it is in my opinion, and most players that use this thing are so annoying that I enjoy targeting these whip users. So I am ranking it as low as possible, and I was even reserving the tier just for it. Next is the staff. I must say, a lot of people say that this saber is the best in the game. I don't own this saber, but I can agree that it is one of the best if not the best. I have fought against it many times and it is difficult to fight against. It has good defense and decent attack damage, and the attack speed is also good, I guess. I have watched many YouTubers rate it, and because it has so much positive feedback and I have a hard time defeating players that use it, I am giving it S tier. Next is the dual backhand. I also don't own this saber, but the stats are pretty good. It also costs as much as the staff and it deals more damage than the staff and also has better attack speed than it. A lot of pro players use it and rave about it. I also have a hard time defeating players that use it. Like I said, I do not own this saber, so I do not know if it deserves the credit that it gets from the Saber Showdown community, so I am not sure whether to put it at A or S tier. So I will leave it at A tier for now. Next is the regular duels. This saber has decent attack damage and the attack speed is also good. But I would honestly go for the staff instead. It should have been cheaper. Some would say that even the backhand version of it is better, so I think this deserves a tier. The only reason that I would recommend this saber is because it is kind of intimidating to new players. And I also don't own this weapon, but I have fought against it and I always win, unless the user is very good at the game. So like I said, it is going to A tier. Next is dual staff, also known as the quote-unquote pay-to-win saber. This saber is definitely a good one, but I think it does not deserve the hate that it gets from the Saber Showdown community. A lot of people don't like it because they say that it is a spam overpriced overrated saber, but it is 4 sabers or 2 regular staffs, so I guess they tried to price the dual staff at double the price of the regular staff, but thankfully they did not. I am going to give it S tier, as it does deal a lot of damage and has decent defense. Only complaint is the stamina drain is insane. And the price, I guess. Next is the boomerang. I actually own this one and I have to say, it is quite fun to use, especially if you are being teamed on. It is one of the best ranged sabers in the game and it deals a decent amount of damage and has better defense than the whip. It is slower than the whip, but at least it is not glitchy. It is not better than crossguard, but it is more expensive than it, so I am giving it A tier. Next is the Tonfa. This saber seems to have a sort of fanbase, so I was kind of scared to rank it, but if I am being honest, it looks kind of dumb, and I find it easy to fight against. I heard that it is better than the dual sabers, but I disagree. It does not deal a lot of damage and it has decent defense stats, so I guess it is not terrible, but it also isn't one of the best either. But that is simply my opinion, and I would appreciate if World War III does not start in the comment section of this video. Next is the spear. The spear is a good weapon if you know how to use it. Otherwise it is pretty bad. I have fought against it and it is quite hard to defeat. Then again, the person I was fighting had 11,000 kills. It is quite rare to find spear users these days, so I have only fought against it twice. And I lost both times, but then again it is good if the player knows how to use it. Now for the scythe. Like I said, I forgot to add it, and I also do not own it. But I do have a rank for it. The scythe is quite glitchy and is also very bad and predictable. I have easily defeated all of the scythe users I come across because it is so glitchy. It is still not as bad as the whip, but then again nothing is, so I am giving it C tier. As for the triple floating saber, I have a friend who owns one, and he said it isn't worth the price. It is the most expensive saber in the game, and it has rather disappointing stats for its price. I don't think it is a bad saber, but it may be the most overpriced one. It is kind of hard to predict, unlike most ranged sabers. So I am giving it A tier. And I have promoted the dual backhand saber as I think it deserves S tier considering it got nerfed twice, but it is still not trash. And that was it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, then please consider giving it a like. Remember that this tier list is just my opinion, and at the end of the day people have more experience with these sabers than I do, so it isn't by any means a correct tier list, it is just my opinion. Now thank you for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.